If you're a graphic designer looking to get hired, find clients, just upgrade your portfolio, then this is the video for you. We'll be looking through a ton of inspirational graphic design portfolios that you guys sent in. The work is absolutely beautiful, so I'll be reviewing as many as I can, giving you best practices, tips, pitfalls to avoid. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so first up, we have Austin Greene Design. Austin is an art director and graphic designer, blending creativity with strategy. They have 18 years of experience. They specialize in brand identity, immersive digital interfaces, and conceptualizing impactful marketing campaigns. So I like that you're kind of talking about who you are, how much experience you have, the things that you focus on. So this is a nice intro. I feel like this last sentence here is less strong. It feels a little bit like keyword stuffing almost. You kind of reiterate strategic, which you've said previously. You love to collaborate with cross-functional teams. Feels a little bit keyword stuffy, so maybe that last sentence isn't as necessary as the beginning, which I think the beginning is very strong. It feels like this contact me button is in no man's land. It's just kind of floating out here. Same thing with work. Work is a little bit far away from the actual work itself. So maybe there's a little bit of hierarchy and spacing that could be improved here. Coming down and looking at your projects. So it looks like you have quite a few projects. My personal preference is usually between like 6 and 8 projects is a sweet spot for most designers. You did say you've been doing this for 18 years, so I guess you do have a lot more work to include than a lot of other designers, but I would just caution you to make sure that you're only including your best work. Usually when you start getting into like the 15 to 20 range, you start including some projects that are maybe on that cusp that could be removed if you're only showing the best stuff. So that's something to think about there. Let's check out this Laugh Out Loud project. So as far as this typography up here at the top, it feels like maybe there's something missing from this right side. It's all just kind of left aligned and it's on a half cut grid here, but maybe like the client and then the branding, UX, UI, web design, social. Maybe that could be over here on the right just to give it a bit more balance visually. And then also adding some more spacing underneath of the intro text here just to give it a bit of room to breathe would be helpful as well. Design-wise, this is really cool. I love that you've done like a neon treatment of this logo. Obviously, this is for Kevin Hart being a comedian. A lot of the times comedy clubs have like the neon signs behind the stage. So that's a really cool tie-in. I love that Kevin Hart is like popping out of this exclamation point. You've added some shadows here. So this is really engaging. It really pops off the page. So I think that's a great hero image to start with. I definitely want to keep scrolling through this project. And so now you're showing us some of the different color treatments, how it looks on different backgrounds without the neon treatment. So this is really, really clean work here. I'm not super sure what the grid is showing here. There's not a lot of like repeated sizes that I'm seeing. It seems like you did grid it out, but there's not necessarily a lot of method to the madness. I think it does look great, but just from a gridding standpoint, I'm not sure this is adding a ton of value. It's great to show that this logo works in small sizes, so it works as an app icon. That's always important to showcase that you've thought through the logo and application. You've thought through the responsivity of the logo, that it works at big sizes on billboards. It works at small sizes for app icons. So that's great that you've thought through all of that. I love that you're showing us the system itself, so the typography for the brand, the different colors that you've used. So this is great to see as design leaders come to your website. This is the type of stuff they want to make sure that you've thought through. You've included the iconography even, so you're really showing us a ton of the different brand elements. And so I think that's great. You're showing us the old logos, and so we can kind of see the improvements that you've made from a illustration standpoint, simplifying it, making sure it works at small sizes. So now you're showing the impact, the improvements that you're making to the brand. And then again, this awesome neon logo. I really love that treatment that you did for that. Like, it looks super realistic. I love the glow on it. Then you're showing us like a whole section on the app, which I think makes sense. Like, that probably warrants its own section because that's a big undertaking for sure. So seeing all these different screens, this is a nice way to show them kind of three-dimensionally. We're seeing that you had to think through a lot of different screens for the app layout, and then you're showing the app on desktop. So again, you've thought through how responsive this brand is, how responsive the app is. And again, it makes sense as to now why you showed us the app working on large applications and small applications because that's what the brand required, right? So that was a challenge. Here's a solution. So great job there. Down here, we're seeing the visual language. So like photography treatments and the duotone effect. So that's great to see. I will say that like this is the first time in this case study that I've seen you apply this effect. So that's a little bit concerning that we've looked through so many assets and I don't remember seeing those visual language treatments applied anywhere else in the project. So maybe that's something that you could think about, is showing that visual language kind of used through the different aspects of the design that we see up above, so it doesn't feel like this is kind of being sprung on us at the end here. But yeah, so that was a really cool project. You really were very complete in the different aspects that you showed us. So I think that's a really effective case study. All right, so next up, I am a basketball fan, so I'm interested in this LeBron project you have here. So it looks like this was a social campaign for Nike for the new LeBron 12s at the time. So you guys found 12 local heroes to design custom shoes for them, sending out a team to Cleveland to film the people, come up with the social campaign. So this is a really cool campaign idea to begin with. It's an awesome mock-up here of the shoe with the light kind of bouncing off the heel to show the action of it. The shoes themselves look awesome. I don't know if you had a hand in like designing the actual shoe itself, but yeah, maybe these photos could be a little bit larger, a bit more story there as far as like, here's my role in like this shoe itself, just to give some context to these photos. Here we're seeing the video of the team kind of going out and finding these heroes and interviewing them. So that's great to include kind of that finished piece here for people to get that emotional connection with the campaign, which I'm sure was a big part of this. And then down here, we're actually seeing like the shoes themselves. It looks like you did design these shoes next to each of the heroes. This is really cool to see the shoes like in the context for each person. So if they're a teacher, it's a kid on the playground, a coach, the chair next to the court, the locker room. So this is really clever that you've kind of put the shoes in the context next to the people. So this is a really cool campaign. It shows that you can kind of conceptualize, you can art direct. So I think that's a really nice way to showcase that. And this is cool too, to show the shoes on their own, just kind of a cleaner layout. So yeah, that's a great project. And obviously anytime that you can have a name like Nike in our portfolio, that goes a long way. So yeah, awesome work, Austin. Great portfolio. So next up, we have Fatima, a multidisciplinary designer based in Toronto. This is a very clean layout to begin with, makes a nice impact. It's a little bit odd to me to have the programs that you work on up here at the top. I'm not sure that's what I would lead with. I'd rather kind of see your design work first, learn a bit more about you before I see just the programs that you work in. It looks too like maybe there's some pop-ups happening on these that maybe aren't quite accurate. AE says no code generative AI. So I'm guessing maybe use a template here and maybe forgot to update some of these pop-up bubble text. So I would definitely update that. As we scroll down, we kind of get these card stacks of your different design disciplines. So we see graphic design, UX case studies, animation and visual effects, and 3D compositions. So that's a cool way to kind of give people a high level overview of the different sorts of things that you're able to do, while also showcasing a little bit of work here. Again, you're kind of focusing on techniques and tools on this card. I don't really think that's necessary. I think people kind of understand what you mean when you say graphic design, right? I don't think they need to know exactly what programs that you use. That's something I would put more on a resume instead of a portfolio. Down here in your About Me section, this text is a little bit too long across, I would say. I would put this on a grid, make the grid stop like halfway on the page, 3/4 on the page. You want like maybe 8 to 10 words on a line of text. When you go beyond that, it kind of becomes laborious to read. And so that's something I would clean up here, just make this a little bit more short, line to line. And then also adding a line break between your two paragraphs here. And then down here we see skills again. So I think this is fine. This might be the only place I would leave skills, would be down here at the bottom. Also, if you want to have those programs that you were listing up top, maybe this is where you would include them if you did want to include them. Again, I think it's a bit more like programs are more resume focused instead of portfolio, but this is where I put them if you really wanted to include them. And this is really nice to have these testimonials here. It builds trust, it shows social proof. So this is definitely something that I would recommend people include on their case studies or on their portfolios. just include some testimonials from people that you've worked with that can vouch for you. It can go a long way just adding that trust when people are going to hire you. So let's click into graphic design. So that's something is this image has a hover state where I can click on it, but then nothing happens when I click on it. So I would just make these images and titles here link to the same thing that view work will take you to, just a small UX fix there. I like that you have hover states on these different projects that kind of give you some more context for each of them. Maybe they could be a bit more consistent. So for example, this one, you have like brand guidelines written here, but then this one, it looks like maybe a website or a slide deck or something like that. So just thinking through how each of these hover states can be more consistent from project to project, I think that might be something that would make this look a bit cleaner. All right, so let's click into this project for Alessi. Looks like this is a reimagining of Alessi's brand identity and marketing strategy to enhance its presence in the Canadian market, starting us off with a quick description, the goal, including a logo design, social media campaign, advertising strategy. So great that we're getting that context off the bat. Maybe you could break out deliverables into its own little section here that just lists those things out. Again, just kind of making the text here a bit smaller, chunk it down, make it easier to digest. I like that you're showing us the designs in context here. This poster, there's maybe a little bit of contrast issues with this photo behind the Bring Alessi Home text. That's something that maybe could be cleaned up just to make it a bit easier to read up here. Okay, so yeah, this is what I was talking about up above, where you've broken out kind of what you did for the project into a little area. And so I think this is an effective way for people to kind of understand that. So I don't really think you need it up here just because it's being repeated here and it's more digestible here. So maybe this could be a bit shorter and this information kind of helps supplement that. I like that you're including the challenge and the result. The result was that you introduced a refined brand identity and a strategic social media campaign and impactful outdoor advertising. And then for the project itself, it looks like you've kind of just put the wrap report deck in here as images, which maybe that could be like a small part of it, but I think I would really recommend focusing more on the visuals, like the design that you did. It's great to see some of this stuff and see the rationale, but as far as a full-blown case study, it would be nice to kind of see the different social assets, see the outdoor advertising and really nice mock-ups and photography, show how you refined the brand identity, what it looked like before, what were the concepts, how did it end up? So I think a little bit less of a slide deck and a bit more of images that'll make a visual impact that really show the design that you did. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning into the video. If you're finding it valuable so far, please take a second to like this video, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. As a small content creator, every single engagement counts, and I really appreciate it. All right, back to the reviews. All right, next up we've got Jade Klara. Can't help but have a smile on your face seeing this logo. That's super cute. I like that this is just very minimal. It's no nonsense. You're kind of just getting right into the work. I personally do like having some sort of just like an elevator pitch right here at the top. Say, hi, my name's Jade. This is what I do. This is what sets me apart. Just so that way, if I'm coming here without context, I don't have to like look around to figure it out. I can just know right off the bat if I'm in the right place. So it looks like, yeah, it's a very simple, confident portfolio here. It's just the work on a grid, nothing crazy, no animations. And I like that. Again, I think it shows that you're letting your work do the talking for you. You don't need anything flashy to try to convince people otherwise. So I think this is a totally valid approach and I think it works. Let's check out this Coca-Cola campaign. So one thing here is it did take 5 to 10 seconds for this page to load. So maybe these images are really high res or something like that. So maybe there's some optimization that could be done there. Looking at these illustrations, these are really nice. So it's obvious that you're a really talented illustrator. These are really well art directed. So this is great work. I will say it would be nice to kind of have some more context as to your role in this project. What was the brief? What was the challenge? How did you solve it? What results did you see? Just being the work in of itself, there's just not a lot of information here for me to really get an understanding of, again, who you are, what you did with these projects, were they successful? So that's something I'd recommend adding. So let's take a look at this project next. Again, incredible illustration here. I love the colors that you've used, the font, so you've art directed them really well. You're clearly super talented. Again, there's just no context here, so I don't know what the goal was. What was the client looking for? How did you accomplish that? For this one, you did include one image of it in context, which is great, but I'd love to see more of that. The fact that it looks like these are wine tags. So like with these images, I didn't know what I was looking at. Now I can kind of figure that out. And so it'd be great to see more super nice high-res art-directed photography of these in the real world. I think that would go a really long way for you, as well as including some text up here, just kind of giving people context on what they're looking at. And then so finally, like your illustrations are so great, I just want to click through all of these. Let's look at one more. Mr. Price here. So again, this is really cool. I love the little bunny rabbit, super cute with the hat, and the text once again is a lot of fun with like the squiggles here. I like the color combinations you have over here. So kind of the same thing across the board. So I'd say I have an incredible portfolio. I can tell from looking at your pieces that you're a great designer, a great illustrator. I just wish there was some more context here. All right, next up we have Daniela. So Daniela is a Melbourne-based designer with experience working in-house and at agencies. So I like that you're giving us a bit of information about yourself at the top. I like colors you have here. They match well with the fonts where it's a little bit organic. It's nice to have a photo of yourself at the top just to kind of put a face to the name, give us a bit more personality with the portfolio. Looks like there's a slight issue at the top here where your header isn't sitting flush. You kind of see the background filtering through. So when it looks like it tries to hide itself, but it doesn't quite go away. So something's going on with your header there that needs to be fixed. Coming down to projects, it looks like it's a nicely gridded out bento. Some really well art directed photos here. I like the hover effect. Maybe the text on this hover effect could be a little bit more smooth. It kind of pops up out of nowhere. So like the zoom is really smooth, but the text is a little bit aggressive as far as the animation goes. And then down here at the bottom, this footer could use a little bit of work. That just feels a little bit too minimal. And obviously we've got another space down here beneath the footer. So I'd clean that up, give this some more room to breathe. Jumping into one of these projects, let's look at this Neller real estate project. I like the animations you have here. It's a nice subtle way to bring us into this case study. So Neller Real Estate is a boutique property agency based in Noosa, specializing in the Sunshine Coast market. I like that you're giving us some imagery here of the logo before we get into even more copy. Again, you're kind of breaking it up, showing image copy to kind of make it easier chunk down for us to get through. It looks like you put together a magazine for them, social media graphics, email templates, gifts for newsletters, and signage. This is nice that you're calling out the requirements from the client here. So they required a strong focus on visual consistency and strategic communication. So it's nice that you kind of thought through that and kept that in mind as you were designing this, instead of it just being visually attractive pieces. Seeing some of the layouts here from the magazine design you did. I'm guessing these are social posts, so maybe putting these a bit more into context just to kind of show that they are the social posts. That would be helpful. And then kind of the same thing here. I'm not exactly sure what this is, so kind of seeing this in context. Maybe this is like one of the newsletter gifts. That might be helpful, again, just to see where these live. So yeah, here you've done that where now we see these are Instagram posts, so that's a nice way to make it a bit more clear. And then as always, I'm a broken record at this point, but adding some metrics, some results, some tangible business impact to these projects, testimonials from the people you worked with. That's a great way to just verify that this was a successful project for clients and hiring managers. I like that you just have a little next button down here so I can just keep going to more projects. It's always good to just make it easy for people to kind of stay in the flow of looking through your portfolio or going to your contact form. And so you've made it easy to do that. So here we have a project for Oran Park Leisure Center. So kind of still in that real estate space, it seems like. Looks like maybe you have a niche. So that's nice to see that that's a developing trend there. Makes it easier for your clients to kind of know who you work with, what your specialty is. Looks like you did a full brand identity. So this is a really cool GIF. It kind of shows where you came up with this idea. You took it from the building, you then extrapolated it into some patterns, some different colorways. So I love to see that thought process on a project. I would say maybe putting the work first before we see that concept will help give us some context, right? Because right now, as a designer, I can see where this is going, but as a client, I might be confused as to what these 4 marks are. And also it does look like one of these GIFs, the second blue one here, like that shape changes at the top. I'm not sure if that's intended, so something to potentially clean up on that. And so this is really nice to see a design here in the real world. There's a nice mock-up here of a phone. Looks like you probably did a social campaign, so maybe breaking out some of those social assets next to this phone would again help bring some more context to what you did. We can start seeing the shape that you reference at the beginning here in the work, so that's cool to see that carried over, that motif. And then down here we have a motion graphics piece, maybe a social post or something like that. So again, this could maybe use a bit of context as far as what it is. So yeah, I think this is a very strong portfolio piece you have here. I think you could expand upon it quite a bit. More images of these social posts, add some context to these different elements you have here, more posters, show how you really use that motif of the building, because I think that is a really cool tie-in. I just don't see a ton of it in the actual work that you're showing here. So I think just more images would help out with this particular case study. All right, next up we have Vinaayak. This is really cool, the way that this all kind of animates on, and this really kind of old-timey script writing. Also looks like it's kind of been scanned in, so it's a little bit grungy, so it has like that kind of 90s zine look to it, so it has a lot of character. It feels a little bit at odds with the typography here for the rest of the site. This feels a little bit more playful and lighthearted, whereas like this side on the left feels a little bit more grungy and very edgy. And so those two visual styles feel a little bit at odds to me. And then even this like hourglass symbol here is a little bit random, and it's also very strong and modern and clean. And so there's kind of a lot going on here on this page, and it's clashing a little bit. And I'm not sure what's going on with this bubble behind your name. I'm not sure if it's supposed to follow my cursor or what, but it seems like it only works right here, like in the middle 10% of the page. So something to clean up there, make sure that interaction is working the way that you'd like it to. As far as the layout, the nav bar here is a little bit confusing from a layout standpoint, a grid standpoint. I'm not quite sure where this is sitting, like about an email are not on the same grid. So I would definitely put these on a grid, make sure that they're all aligned properly, that they kind of make sense. And then also up here at the top in the nav, there's just kind of this rogue dark gray bar up here that looks like maybe that's a bit of a mistake. So I would definitely spend some time cleaning up this homepage, making sure it's visually cohesive, that it all kind of looks one way, that everything's working the way that you intend it to. But again, I really like this style you have here on the left. Heading into the work here, this stuff took a little bit to load, so maybe there's some image optimization that could be done for your thumbnails. For the hover state, these names could use some padding. Right now they're kind of jammed up into this top left corner, so giving them a little bit of room to breathe, I think would help out quite a bit. And then it looks like you're also kind of including the deliverables you did, your role for each project, putting those in a different location than the name, or putting them into little bubbles just to kind of show that they're each different and that they're not part of the name of the project. I think that would help add some hierarchy to the hover state as well. Down here, these logos are pretty cool. It looks like this is kind of leaning into that grungy, scanned in serif handwritten look that you had on your homepage. So it looks like maybe that's part of your style, so that's cool. Again, it's like this work, that's a really cool style that you have, but I'm not seeing it up here at the top. This stuff is a lot more corporate looking. And so again, you kind of have like a competing look as far as your work, where a bit cleaner, or it's this fun serif, or it's this grungy script. So I would kind of maybe like pick a lane and try to make things look a bit more cohesive from that standpoint. For the nav up here at the top, I would give it a lot more breathing room. Right now it's pretty cramped on this thin white bar. Same thing down here. This definitely needs some more breathing room here. So looks like maybe that's a recurring theme here, just adding white space, letting elements breathe. Don't feel like you have to like put text right up against images. So it looks like this is a brand identity and menu design for a restaurant So I like this mock-up you have here. I like that you kind of showed the full poster next to the poster in context. That's nice that you're giving us that together. This is a really nice mock-up as well, showing us the menu. I will say this mock-up looks like a book. So I don't know how big this menu is, but this looks like a 100-page book in this mock-up. So make sure that if this is just like a 5-page menu, maybe a different mock-up or less drop shadow here, because it looks like a really thick menu currently. This is a cool photo of the business cards here where there's like a silver effect on all the text. It's nice that you've kind of art directed this grainy brown background texture for all of the different photos. So again, you kind of carried that through, so that's a nice touch. It's cool that you're talking about these geometric shapes. I think they work nicely here as like the windows into the food photography. It'd be cool if you kind of told us how you came up with this, right? Like, are these just random shapes? Did you use some part of the brand to come up with these shapes? Because right now, without that context, they feel a little bit random. And so in that case, we don't really need the context. So if you're gonna showcase these shapes on their own, definitely talk about why you came up with them. How does that tie into the ethos of the brand? Give us that context and insight, because that's the stuff that makes brands really exciting to see. So here we see them used as a window, so I think that works really well to have that kind of back to back. This area down here becomes pretty difficult to figure out what I'm looking at because all the images kind of blend together. I'm guessing these are like detail shots of the menu, but yeah, they just need some context, putting them on a background, giving them some spacing. Right now, they're all just kind of jammed together to where it's a little bit confusing to figure out. Here again with these little interjections of context, I think these are great to have. From a typography standpoint, probably smaller fonts, more spacing to let them breathe a little bit, less words per line would be helpful as well. And then once we get down to the bottom down here, it'd be great to have something taking us to the next project, right? Like make it easy for me to keep looking at your work, say like, hey, here's the next project to go to, contact me. There should be some sort of journey that's happening here where you make it really easy for me to know what to do next. Our next portfolio is for Ryadhi. They are a creative partner for ambitious brands. So I like the simplicity of your header section here. You just kind of tell them what you're all about and we start getting into the work. I like this image you have here too. This is a cool like grainy gradient background you have here. It's a little bit odd to me that it's just sitting off to the side. Like if you want to use it, maybe make it the background for the whole hero section. It just feels like it's kind of floating randomly where it currently is. So maybe do something with that that's a bit more intentional. Your work definitely looks clean. I like these mock-ups that you're using. It looks like you only have 3 projects here. So I would advise you to try to get that to about 6 projects. Obviously, you don't want to put any work that is not your strongest work, but with just 3 projects, it can be difficult to tell your actual skill set. So I would definitely recommend expanding that when you're able to. Let's take a look at this Botanicals brand here. So I like this hero image. Once again, I like this mark. The typography is really nice. The mock-up is well art directed. The colors work together. So this hero image is already giving me a sense that you kind of know what you're doing. You're a good designer. You're hitting a lot of the fundamentals of design that I'm looking for as a hiring manager or a client. So it looks like this brand is luxurious as well as holistic for self-care products. It uses CBD. So we can kind of keep an eye out for some of these as we look through the project. And it looks like the concept is to use the letter S while evoking the shape of plant leaves, leading to an organic and natural feel. So looking at the design itself, I really like the design. I don't know if I would say that's the vibe I'm getting from it. The font you've used here is pretty modern and angular. And then the shape itself, I would say is too. It's like a pretty sharp angular logo, which again, I like it. I'm not getting natural organic leafiness from it necessarily. So maybe that's something to kind of rethink the verbiage that you're using in your brief, just to make sure that it's aligned with kind of the work that we're seeing here. I like these social mock-ups you have here. It's sometimes really messy when you show like a full Instagram screenshot. So you're using like a really simple mock-up that shows it's on social, but it's not showing all that messy UI from the platform. So that's a really nice solution. Again, we're seeing a well art directed mock-up here. I love these colors. They're definitely very organic and natural. I like the background elements here of like concrete and rocks and branches. Again, it's driving home the brief that you told us about. I love to see this too. So again, you have On the right, you kind of talk about the spacing, the sizing, the proportions you use to lay out all the text on the bottles. And right beside that, you show us the bottles. So we get to see the final result, the concept, your thought process. So these are the sort of things that you're looking for as a hiring manager, as a client, is to see how the designer thinks. Are they approaching the project the right way? Can they do the work? And so you're showing that even right here with this one little screenshot that you've thought through all of those things. So that's really impactful. These are really nice. I like that you have so many colors that are in this brand, but they all work together. And that's really difficult to do, right? When you start getting into pinks and oranges and greens and blues, it can be challenging for them all to kind of play nice, starts looking like a rainbow, but you've done a nice job of making them all kind of look cohesive and well thought through. And you're even right on cue here now showing us the color palette you used along with the typography. You even animated it. I'm not sure that the animation is doing a ton here. It's a little bit honestly confusing if you scroll to this part and it's just like this blank page, but it is great seeing a rationale as far as all the colors that you used and then the typography you used. Now we're seeing the outlines of all the SKUs. Some more art-directed photography here. So yeah, this is a really clean project. I love this bento layout you have. So yeah, that's a super strong case study. Really great job. So again, I like how minimal the portfolio itself is as far as your site design. I think that's a great project you have there, a great case study. I think maybe just thinking through the hero section a little bit, adding some more projects to kind of show off a bit more of what you do. But apart from that, awesome portfolio. The next portfolio we have here is from Isiah Lyons. So a very simple, minimal layout here. Just a name up at the top, some navigation, get right into the projects. So very straightforward, nothing wrong with that. Maybe again, like I've said on some of these previous portfolios, just having a mission statement up here at the top, talking through who you are, what you do, what your approach is, who you work with. A couple of sentences just to give us some context is always nice, just to kind of kick things off with an understanding of you. I like the thumbnails you have here. I like that you have a consistent styling for each of them, where you have this background image, you have a logo, and then it's like a color overlay. So I think that's nice to have like a consistent treatment. Let's take a look at this project here. So I like that you're starting us off with a little bit of context here. I think from a context standpoint though, I would maybe make it a little bit more focused on challenge, results, approach, things like that. So putting this information into more of a structured and thought through layout. Just saying you did a booklet for them isn't super impactful. So why did they need the booklet? What was the booklet designed to achieve? What was the goal? How did you get there? And then what results did you see? How many of these were printed and sent out? Or did you get great feedback on them? Do you have testimonials? What sort of real tangible results can you draw from this project? That sort of stuff is really great to include. These are really nice, clean mock-ups you have here of the print materials, the front and back cover. So these mock-ups here are all kind of the same thing. So maybe instead of repeating these mock-ups, doing like a nice close-up detail shot at an angle, showing off some of the close-ups of the booklet, of the cover, something like that. Be a better use of this screen real estate here. It's nice that you're showing us some of the inside pages. It's obviously for a school, so the work is pretty clean and corporate and straightforward, I guess you could say, but I can tell that you did a good job with the typography here. There's hierarchy. You've put everything onto a grid. I'm guessing this might be an issue with the mock-up rather than an issue with the design itself, but with this mock-up, it looks like this font becomes like a condensed font for fast facts and demographics. It doesn't look like it matches the About Lehman College font here. So I'm guessing, again, that's a mock-up issue, not an issue with the design, but I would find a mock-up that doesn't squish the text like that because it makes it look like a completely different font that doesn't quite match the fonts you've used throughout. For this project, I would recommend adding a few more beauty shots, close-ups, things like that. Add a bit more context as far as the challenge that this project was trying to overcome, obstacles, your thought process, and then the results that you got, testimonials, business metrics, things like that. A case study is really an opportunity for you to tell a story, to show off how well you accomplished the project, not just from a design standpoint, but from a business standpoint. So be sure to keep that in mind as you're going through these. Next up, we can take a look at this Jobs to Move America strategic plan. The client requested a booklet of their strategic plan using brand guidelines and info provided. So again, this description that you have here is a little bit too on the nose, like you're telling us exactly what happened. They sent you a plan, they sent you a brand guide, they sent you some information, but you need to take this and tell more of a story with it. It's a bit too matter of fact right now. Again, why did they need the strategic plan? Why was it important? What was their goal? How did you accomplish that? What was your thought process? That sort of stuff is important. So this is nice to see your grid system here as a creative. It's great to know that you kind of thought through that layout. I think instead of showing it just as an infographic like this, like showing the grid applied to the actual layout of the real booklet would be a bit more effective. And then I also wouldn't necessarily start with this. I would probably start with some beauty images of the booklet and then shortly thereafter get into the grid system, just because you want to capture people's attention with a few beautiful images. And then you can start getting into more of the nitty-gritty of why you made the decisions that you did. This is a really nice, clean design. I like the layout of it. I like that you obviously use their brand colors. This is a nice mock-up here, seeing the front and the back. Starting to see some of the inside contents. So yeah, again, I think some close-up detail shots so we can really see that grid put into use. It's good to see it from this bird's eye perspective, but then also doing a deeper dive, some beauty shots, some detail shots, really showing off the layout and the hierarchy and the grid system that you put into place. And then again, instead of the infographic of the grid, maybe just showing that grid on one of these actual layouts to show us how that all came together, I think would help give it some more context. But overall, it's nice, it's simple, it works. Your work is very clean. I like that it's focused on typography, it's focused on grid. It definitely seems like you are aimed at like print layouts and things like that. So it's nice that you've picked out a niche. So great portfolio, Isiah. All right, so next up we have Aymen. Aymen is using Behance for his portfolio. It's a question I see asked a lot. I think Behance is totally fine to use for your portfolio. I think as you progress in your career, it is better to have a portfolio that is on a self-hosted website with your own domain name, that you can really kind of showcase more of yourself and kind of about you and things like that. Using Behance, I think, is a great tool as well, but I think it kind of has its own purposes, right? Like you can find clients on Behance, use it like a social network. As far as an actual portfolio website, again, I think it's totally fine, but I would say like eventually moving to your own website would be my own preference. As a hiring manager, that's what I would prefer to see. Let's take a look at this Summit Solace project here. I remember seeing this on Reddit a while ago. So right off the bat, we're seeing some impactful imagery here. We're seeing the snow here, so we're putting it into context. I like that you've darkened it to kind of help with the legibility. I still think it's struggling a little bit being a white logo on this background, but it's not too bad. But maybe darkening it even more might help a little bit with that. I like that you're showing that this was featured on World Brand Society right here at the top. So I think that's a great thing to do. If you do have any accolades, if you win awards with your projects, definitely showcase that. It's not bragging. It's important for clients to know that your work is recognized, that it's accepted as good by different organizations. So it is maybe a little bit large of a call out, like front and center, but I get it something you're proud of. So I think that's great. You're giving us the context here of the overview. So it's a ski resort. You mentioned a few times tranquility, peacefulness. And so then you mentioned that you're bringing that into the brand identity itself, balancing adventure and relaxation. So I think that's a really nice juxtaposition that you're calling out early, so we can kind of look for that as we go through the project. As far as goals go here, you say that the goal is to distinguish from a crowded market of ski resorts by creating a visual identity that communicates the brand's value and personality. And then the solution, I like that you've kind of called out the rationale here as far as like how you came up with the logo itself. I do hope that you visually show us this rationale too, but you say the logo mark features a smiling skier, symbolizing the stress-free experience the ski resort offers, the subtle mountain and the negative space between the goggles and the smile, which is a really nice touch. It's like a fun moment of delight. As you look at the logo longer, you kind of start seeing some more of these little things. I like that you've given it soft edges. That kind of, again, relates back to the relaxed atmosphere of it, that's a bit more friendly. For the color palette, you say it's a mix of calming colors with vibrant colors to, again, showcase that juxtaposition of adventure with relaxation. And you even start talking about the brand voice, which is really nice for projects where you take it that far to include that, show your rationale there as well. So that's an awesome intro to have all that context as we start looking through the work. I think this is a really strong logo. I love the smiley face. I love that you can tell that it's ski goggles, which is kind of hard to portray in a minimal logo. And then again, that like hidden mountain there in the middle. I think that's a nice touch. And I think you've done a nice job matching up the typeface that you've used here to the logo. So it's a little bit rounded, but it's still bold. So it really drives home all the things that you just established in the brief. So it's great to be able to read that and see it put into action. You can kind of see the different lockups here, the fact that it works as an app icon, the color palette. Here we have a photo, which is also great for context. I will say that I don't see the logo anywhere in this photo, so it feels a little bit random to have in the case study. It would be great to maybe in the background or something, there's like a billboard, or maybe there's like a bumper sticker on the car or something, just to tie in that this isn't just like a random photo of people going skiing. It's a very specific photo for this case study that was art directed and thought through. So that's something there, just make this photo feel a bit more intentional. These badges are a pretty cool way to expand upon the logo, showing us the typography. I love this pattern. And putting everything together, so we're seeing some social posts here. There's maybe some contrast issues with the blue on the red for me. That's a little bit difficult to read and probably not accessible from a contrast standpoint. As far as this watch mock-up, I'm not sure that you've shown us this pink before, so the pink feels a little bit at odds with the rest of the color combinations that you've shown us. So maybe either showing us that's a brand color earlier and using it a bit more often, or using one of the other established colors here might be more successful. Nice to see that it works as an app icon, that it works on the website. So these are some really great applications. Wow, you've got so many applications in here. You're really showing us that you've thought through absolutely every part of this ski resort. So that's great that you've shown that attention to detail. I love this that you've incorporated it behind the mountain here. It makes the composition a bit more dynamic, showing us yet another way that you can use this as part of the visual identity. So I think this is a really strong project that you've presented here. So awesome job on that. You can take a look at this next project here, the Adventure Brand Logo Redesign Rebrand. So the title of that is a little bit confusing to me, but let's take a look. Happy Feet is a specialist club focused on trekking and adventure activities. So maybe that's something that would be helpful to have as like the title of the project here, have Happy Feet in that title, just so that way it's a bit easier to tell what it is. I'm guessing maybe you did that for like SEO purposes on Behance. I don't use Behance a ton, so I'm not sure quite how to game the SEO system, so maybe that's what that is. I think here, talking about the problem with the established logo, like I've mentioned previously, just using any words that could be construed as negative, I would stay away from, just so you don't offend the company or the previous designer, saying it was complicated and generic, not memorable, not versatile. I think there's ways that you can say some of those things in a bit more strategic way to where it doesn't sound negative. You could say maybe it wasn't producing correctly at smaller sizes, things like that, just to kind of make sure that no one gets their feelings hurt if they do stumble upon your case study. I'm interested to see what the rationale is for the logo here, so I hope that you kind of get into that, because without context, it's a bit of a random shape to me. Maybe it's like trails up a mountain or something like that, and like a sunrise. So interested to see what the rationale is for this. So yeah, it's great to have the before and after here, so we can kind of see all the things that you mentioned as far as like scalability, memorability. It's very complicated. Again, if you just show us the before and after, and then maybe put some of that stuff in more positive terms, I think we can kind of draw the connection as far as why it needed to be designed without, again, using any sort of like potentially negative language there. Okay, so here's the rationale. So I'm glad that we have this. It looks like it's about celebrating at the summit. So it's a person with their hands up, okay? Sunrise on the horizon. So that was what I was seeing, was the sun there in the middle, and then the mountain range, which also I was getting that from like the trail. So I guess I was able to kind of like figure it out as I went. With these logos that are a bit more abstracted, having that rationale up front can definitely be helpful. And it looks like this shape here is derived from the center of a star, so that's interesting too. It's a cool holding shape that you've used. So now we can kind of start seeing some variations here, the color palette, different pairings, how they play well together. So that's all great to see your rationale. Badges once again, so you're kind of expanding upon the brand. Potentially this could be like printed out or something like that. These little marks here in this outer circle look like they're not quite perfect circles, so that's something that could be cleaned up, is just potentially make sure the angles on these curves. Inside of the badge are circles to match the actual shape itself. And now we're gonna start seeing some of the context applications of this logo. So it's great that you are showing us the real world locations here. I'll say that your bento grid is a little bit funky. These should be like aligned on a grid. And so it seems like each line is its own grid, but they don't align. So if you're gonna do a bento, make sure it's a really clean looking grid. This is a really cool hero image you have here on the website. So incorporating that logo into the world, I think that's a really nice touch. Using some of the shapes as like overlays here. That's a cool way to expand the brand. So you have stickers and stamps and t-shirts. So once again, you've really taken this brand and put it on a ton of different applications. Maybe this could be toned down a little bit. I think that's maybe a theme for these two projects we've looked through, is that you're really putting this logo on a ton of different applications, which is great that you're thinking through them. Maybe it could be toned down just a little bit, but again, I think it's a great project. Love the rationale. Love seeing how you came up with the mark. Okay guys, I hope all that amazing work got you inspired. I hope the best practices help you improve your own portfolios, help you get hired, and help you find more clients. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now go out there and make a ruckus.